Okay, we're crossing the North Fork of the Holston River Bridge, which is in Kingsport, but this is also the Sullivan County, Hawkins County line. We are now in Hawkins County. Okay, this isn't Laurel Run Park yet. We're in Churchill, but I wanted to show you this. This is Derrick Park, which is got a lot of new stuff in it. And we generally take Maggie here for a little walk to pee on stuff on our way through. This is a regular stop when we go on our Anything Can Happen Day rides through Hawkins County. You can see this is a boat ramp area. Over there's ballparks on the other side of those trees. And then you can see there's the Holston River and the boat ramp, and across the river, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a sign over here. I'll show it to you. This is actually the other side of this fence over here is the Holston Army Ammunition Plant, and I've been in there a few times. It's where they make C4 and other explosives. So you can see there's a sign here, and I'll roll the window down. It's so hot in this vehicle. Okay, so you can see that's like if you're boating on the river or fishing, whatever, that's as far as you can go. You can't go into the ammunition plant. If you do, they've got commandos in there, seriously, who will come and swoop you up. See, I wasn't kidding. This is right across from the park. This is the sign right across from the park. So you do not want to accidentally cross that fence line, and if your ball goes over the fence, you might as well just leave it. Here's kind of a bird's eye view of Derrick Park, right on the river there. It's a pretty neat little park. You can see the splash pad and the playground equipment, and then the river in the background. You can hear Maggie panting in the background. It's just, she's so excited. She loves going for a ride. She's pants and pants and pants. Well, it is Anything Can Happen Day, so we decided to take another detour. We're on River Road in Churchill. This is the road that follows the river, and they just, well, a couple years ago built some really fancy houses down here that are directly across the river from the park we're going to, so I thought we'd take a little side trip there. But this is a horse farm we're actually in a city, but this is the outskirts of the city of Churchill, and they have a little horse farm, and then we kind of merge into a subdivision area. This is an older subdivision, but kind of up the road here, you're gonna see some real fancy new houses. Isn't this a pretty neighborhood? We're exiting the old neighborhood and entering the new neighborhood. And if you kept going straight, you'd cross the Holston River, and you'd be that little gap right there. That's where Laurel Run Park is. There's a trail that goes up that gap, and about an hour's walk up it is a waterfall that's a real popular destination. And that's actually where we're going to be going here in a few minutes, but I wanted to make this little side trip and show this pretty little neighborhood here. Okay, there's that gap we were looking at a second ago. You can't see the river really, but that's across the river, and if you look real closely, you can see like the shelters and the park buildings and playground equipment and stuff like that. So anyways, and then right here where we're at is this upscale neighborhood. Boy, if they ever flood out over here, they're gonna be wondering if that was a good idea to build here, because what I was gonna tell you, the historical significance of Laurel Run Park is, in 1983, that was the filming location for the Mel Gibson, Sissy Spacek, and Scott Glenn movie The River, where all the flooding takes place. And I don't know if this is floodplain or not. I can't imagine that it's not, because it's right next to the river. But of course, they know what they're doing if they want to build here. But this is the little cul-de-sac that we like to go through, and look at these beautiful houses and this view that they have. This is right across the river from the park where the river was filmed. The farmhouse, which I was going to tell you this when we got there, but I'll just tell you now. the actual farmhouse was burned down shortly after the property was donated from by the movie company to the county. And there you can see between the houses there is tennis courts and a shelter, and there's the river. But these guys have really beautiful houses here. All right, crossing the Holston River again. Now we're on Goshen Valley Road, and that's what direction we're going to be headed towards to get to the park. In beautiful Churchill, Tennessee. We're heading towards Laurel Run Park. I just wanted to show this view because I'm crossing the center line. Because a couple years ago, this whole mountain was on fire. I was told by a firefighter that they believe one of the local drunks had a little brush fire that got out of hand. They couldn't prove it, so he was never charged or anything, but it burned this whole mountain down and closed the park and everything. So, okay, we're approaching the entrance of Laurel Run Park, but I want to tell a little story about something that happened to me here one time. I don't remember why I was coming here. I think I was coming here to take pictures of the new disc golf course that they had built here at the park. But right around here, a mama bear and 3 baby bears came down off that hill and went right across the road in front of me, and then went down the gully there. Well, ordinarily I would have my good camera right by my side, but for some reason it was in the floor of the back seat of my pickup, and I reached around to grab the case by the what do you call it? You know, the strap, and it was hooked on something. So by the time I broke the strap trying to pull it, and by the time I got my camera, they were gone. I did try to take a few pictures with my cell phone before I got my camera, but the sun was in my face, and the poor little bears were just blobs. You couldn't even tell what they were. So that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to take pictures of bears, and I blew it. But here we are at Laurel Run Park. You can see the gate there. This is where the movie The River was filmed. There's not really a lot here that would indicate that. After the movie had Mel Gibson, Sissy Spacek, and then Scott Glenn was the bad guy. And after it was filmed, the movie company gave the property to the county, and it still had the big farmhouse on it and everything. Well, shortly after that, some a-hole came down here and burned the farmhouse down. It was arson. So there was nothing but the land left, and I can show you, this is the property here. And so the county made it into a park. And also interesting little note, if you go back and watch that movie, the boy who plays Mel Gibson and Sissy Spacek's son is a local boy. His name is Shane Bailey, and I know him. He's about my age. We're about the half-century mark now, and he was a teenager when that movie was made. And he went on to be a college baseball player, and then became a teacher and a coach, and then he was principal of one of the middle schools around here, Strongsville Middle School, and now he is an assistant superintendent at the Rogersville City School. So if you ever see that movie again, or you watch it on live streaming, or it comes on TV, just think about the fact that boy who played Mel Gibson's son was just a local kid who went and auditioned and got the part. And it was really the only thing he did in show business, and he became a teacher. Now he's educating our children. Okay, here we are at Laurel Run Park. Parking, if you remember a minute ago when I showed you that gap where I said the walking trail is, well, this is the gap right here. And this is the Laurel Run Creek. Take Maggie on a little walk. Lynn don't want to come, she don't want to get her shoes muddy. So me and Maggie will do this, just a short little jaunt. Show you how high the river can get, this little creek can get sometimes. But it's a pretty little place to come and take a walk. From what I understand, if you walk about an hour up this trail, you come to a waterfall. Well, actually, there's 2 waterfalls. We're not going that far today. We'll save that for another day. This is as far as I'm going to go for right now. But see, that trail continues up, and there's actually an old farmhouse up there a little bit. The flood was so bad, look what it did. It knocked the whole bridge over. They haven't quite come, looks like they've taken a little bit of it down, but taking it apart little by little. But an Eagle Scout put it upon himself to come rebuild the bridge so that people could still cross over and continue hiking. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that pretty little creek there? And of course, in the summertime, this is a real nice place to come cool off. Put your feet in the water. This is, because there's been logging up here and stuff, but this is really raw, undeveloped property over here. And you see looking down. Alright, so we'll go back and I'll show you the rest of the park. There's another view up the hill there. I just got back down to where the parking lot is, and you see several hikers coming and going. This is a popular place even in early February. It's very pretty up here, and there's, like I said, this is that gap that I showed you from across the river. And if you keep going for an hour, you come to 2 waterfalls. No dogs allowed. Maggie doesn't think she's a dog, though. She thinks she's a person. So she should be allowed. There's where the Laurel Run Creek empties into the Holston River. And this is, we're right in the heart of the park now, and this is the really good place for kids to come play in the creek when it's hot out. Stomp around, get wet. It's always good fun. There's the Laurel Run's boat ramp. You see that they've got some leftover rock where they did their shoreline protection program not too long ago. But let me show you how big this park is. See now that mountain over there? That's where we were at a minute ago when we were at the creek. The tree line, and the big tree line, and where it starts turning into a mountain. So this is a huge park. They got a lot of vacant property. There was a big push for tourism and ideas of how to grow tourism here. And like I said, one of my ideas was to create maybe like a little 25 slot county-owned campground here, because you've got lots of amenities. You've got the hiking, the mountain biking, the boat ramp area, the creek, tennis, and you could put a pool in even, really. But there was not a lot of enthusiasm on the part of authority figures. Now the people in the community thought it was a good idea, except for the folks, I'll show you over here, who the folks who have the nice houses. There was a couple of those that didn't like that idea, but it ain't gonna happen. It's just a thought. I like to think out loud. I'm an idea man. Here's a little bit better view of the park in relation to the houses across the river. And there's a walking trail, so the walking trail goes right along the river. And actually the river was eating up the park there for a while, and that's where they you can see the boulders down by the boat ramp, and there's a big pile of them left over in the main part of the park also, but they put some boulders down to try to stem the erosion, because it went from like 10 feet to 3 feet from the walking trail. It was really eating up the walking trail. So anyways, I just wanted to show this view of the park in relation to the houses across the river where we were at earlier. Okay, we're at the Phipps Bend Industrial Park. I guess I was didn't really describe for you what our journey was going to entail. We're going west along the Holston River Valley from Kingsport, Tennessee to Rogersville. And the communities that we passed are Mount Carmel, which we did not stop. We stopped in Churchill at Derrick Park and Laurel Run Park, and now we're almost to Seguansville. But before you get to Seguansville, there is the Phipps Bend Industrial Park, which has something very interesting I want to show you. And we're on our way to it right now. In the late 1970s, the Tennessee Valley Authority came up with the idea of building a nuclear power plant at a place called Phipps Bend, which this is kind of a big bend in the Holston River, surrounded on 3 sides by river. So there's a river over there, a river straight ahead, and a river over there. And behind us is not river. Behind us is the entrance. So they got really far along with this project. And then in 1981, when after 3 Mile Island, and there was a lot of anti-nuke sentiment in the country, they canceled it after spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on site preparation and infrastructure, because they've got all the lines that would have carried the power out of this nuclear power plant are here. And they actually even built the reactor building, just the shell of it, the concrete shell of it, and they built the cooling tower skeleton. So that's what we're coming up on right now. But what you see ahead of us, and we're going to go in here now, this is going to be a little bit precarious. I don't know if we're supposed to be here. I come in here quite a bit, so I don't think they'd be mad at me for doing this, because they know I'm a journalist and I come take pictures and stuff. We'll go as far as they let us, but I want to show you this nuclear reactor structure. And you can kind of see, there's part of it right there. I'll stop here. And I've actually been in there a couple of times, but you're not allowed to go in there. And it's fenced off now. The reasons why I went in there, I'll tell you about. On one occasion, a student film crew from East Tennessee State University had asked for permission to come film a futuristic movie in there about the apocalypse, which I thought that's a great setting, because look how apocalyptic it looks. So I got wind of that from some of my friends at the industrial board, and I came and did a story about that and got to actually come in there with them while they were filming. And I can tell you one thing, that place is dangerous to go into, because it's just the concrete shell of a nuclear power plant, and all the holes and pits and places where the nuclear thingy was going to be, the actual reactor, there's like a 30-foot drop off. It's pitch black. There's conduit tubes in the ground that go 30 feet down like a well, and that leads me into the second reason why I went into this facility. Apparently, when they were, I'm going to come up here and tell this story. There's a solar power farm here. I'll show it to you in just a second. You can kind of see it through those trees there. But this property is managed by a joint effort of from the Hawkins County and the city of Kingsport, and they try to recruit. Oh, somebody's, looks like they're flying a drone or something. But they try to recruit industry into the property that can be developed. I don't know what he's doing. He must be flying a drone. So anyways, this property's not developable. But it was developable for a solar farm, which I can't see because I'm not filming good. Let me take, okay, let's find a better place. I know there's a better place. There we go. All right, this is a good place to see it from. So anyways, when they were constructing this, and this was about 2016, they were constructing this solar farm, one of the workers heard a dog barking inside the concrete reactor building, went in there and found there was a dog had fallen into a 30-foot deep pit. It looked like a well. It was just like a manhole cover size hole in the floor, but it was straight down 30 feet, and somehow the dog got down in there. Well, there's people trespassing in there all the time. There's graffiti, there's little places where they have campfires, and I'm sure people go in there and party. I can't believe a dog got in that hole by itself. No dog's that stupid. Somebody must have threw that dog in that hole. But anyways, the guy couldn't, there was no way for him to get the dog out himself, so they had a big rescue operation, and I was allowed to come in with the rescuers and film it, and I actually filmed them. They got a little noose thing and got it around the dog's neck and just pulled him out by his neck and saved his life. And there's also a little interesting sideline. The guy who heard the dog barking had decided to adopt the dog, and he was going to take it home and everything. They were going to call it Timmy, after like Timmy Stuck in the Well, like from Lassie. Old people will know what I'm talking about. But as it happened, after the story was in the article, there was a lady that lives across the river. See the river, see that mountain ridge there? That's the other side of the river. And there was people that lived over there, and their dog ran loose and crossed the river because it was probably shallow at the time and there's shoals, and it was their dog, and they didn't know what happened to their dog until and she was not a newspaper subscriber, but she went to the mini mart and there was a stack of newspapers on the counter at the cash register, and she saw her dog had been the one that was rescued, and her son was a little boy, had been so distraught over losing his dog. So they got to retrieve their dog. Now all this stuff is documented with videos and newspaper articles. Even the kids that did the student film, I did a story about that. So when I download this video and put it and upload it, I guess you'd call it, I will put links to all that stuff in here, and in the bottom in the description part, so you can go back if you're interested in and see Timmy, which I can't remember what Timmy's real name was, but he and his family, and just the whole rescue operations on video. All right, there's the that's how far they got with the cooling tower project. Just the skeleton. I'm not sure I wonder if that's concrete or steel. If it's steel, I wonder if somebody didn't come get all that steel and recycle it. But oh, I couldn't tell. I wasn't aiming right. Now I'm aiming right. There it is. It's hard to see. It's kind of dark in here. All right, so anyways, that's the cooling tower, and then you can see that's the reactor. You can really now let's see that backside right there and that fence line there. That's where we actually went in to get into the plant to rescue the dog. So that's a good view of it right there. So anyways, the nuclear power plant that was not, and we are gone. We're on our next voyage. Okay, well now we're in the next town west of Churchill and Phipps Bend. This is Seguinsville. We're right on Main Street, and I want to just pull off here real quick because this is private property, and technically I'm trespassing. But this is Lyon's house, and this is a historic house in Seguinsville, and it's not a public place, it's a private place, so you're not allowed to come here and look around, but I'm going to show you why I pulled off here in just a second. There's Lyons. There's the front of Lyons' house right there, and there's their spring house, or well house, spring house. Looks like spring house. Okay, we are in beautiful riverfront park in Seguinsville. Just a little side stop. I'm on our way to Rogersville, but I wanted to show you this. This is why we stopped at the Lyons' house. as I mentioned in my first episode, Tennessee has this program called the Civil War Trails, and they've just got hundreds of these little markers across the state that show what interesting things happened in your community during the Civil War. So this one talks about Lyons Store and Post Office, the commercial hub of Sagonesville, became a focus of activity for the Confederate supporters. And that's the little house that we were just at. On May 21st, 1862, Clinton G. Lyons and Frank L. Phipps organized the Company A 12th Tennessee Cavalry Battalion, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, you can see those are those guys. And I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, but if you want to read this, just pause this video and you can probably read it. But and they've got some artwork here. And you can see you are here in relation to Lyons Store, which was where we just came from. Of course, Maggie's not interested in the Civil War trails. She's more interested in peeing on stuff. That's her life's blood. You're seeing the fishing dock at Riverfront Park where Maggie's exploring for something to pee on. But this is a real pretty section. A lot of people like to tube and canoe and boat here. There's a boat ramp right there, other side of those trees, and just this a real nice section of the Holston River, Sagonesville, Tennessee. All right, I thought I'd show you what downtown Sagonesville looks like. There's the world famous Allen engine building shop that have built world champion dragster motors. There's City Hall. There's the water department. Now we're on Main Street, downtown Main Street, the main drag. This right here is called Bellamy Hardware. This is where they have, before COVID hit, this is where they have really great bluegrass shows on the third Saturday of each month. Now this is the Sagonesville Police Department. I wrote a story about them when this used to be a little insurance office, and I wrote a story about them turning this into a police department. It's the smallest police department in Tennessee, just 2 little rooms, and that story made national news. I guess people were fascinated by that. Okay, it is Anything Can Happen Day, and we have made another detour. I wanted to show you something. We're on the outskirts of Rogersville, and this is a place called Ebbing and Flowing Creek. And it's a big long creek, and this is just one part of it that where they don't have a bridge. You just go through the creek to get to the other side, and it's concreted over here. But the reason why this is famous, this is a tidal creek. There's only 2 of these in the whole world, and one of them is in Russia, and the other one is in Rogersville, Tennessee. You can look it up. It's called Ebbing and Flowing Creek in Rogersville, Tennessee. It rises and falls with the tides of the ocean, even though we're hundreds of miles from the ocean. And there it is, right there. And this is kind of the end of it right here. This is where it empties into a place called Big Creek. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Big Creek here as we get down the road and show you my little detour we're on. Okay, we are entering the Thomas Amey Historic Park area. That's just a suggestion. That's not an official speed limit. He put a speed limit sign up one time and speed bumps on a county road and got in trouble. But this property is owned by Jake and Wendy Jacobs. They're friends of mine, and this is a very historic place. I wasn't intending on coming here when we set out today, but I figured we could stop here for just a minute and I could show you a couple of interesting things. We'll spend a lot more time here, hopefully in the future, with Jake, the owner, who can really talk about the history of this place. One of the reasons I wanted to stop here at the Amey property is This is another, there's 4 Civil War Trails monuments in Hawkins County. You saw the one in Seguinsville, and there's 3 in Rogersville. This is the one at Big Creek, the Battle of Big Creek. And interesting story, during the battle, the Union was routed. They left their desk behind, the general's desk behind, and that desk ended up, you can barely see it through the trees there. That is Amy House. That is the oldest house in Hawkins County. It was built in the 1780s, early 1780s, by Captain Thomas Amy, who settled this part of the county. But I'll let you read this while I'm talking. The Battle of Big Creek was here during the Civil War, but during the Revolutionary War, Thomas Amy, who had been a Revolutionary War veteran, purchased this property from the heirs of Davy Crockett's grandparents, who were murdered in Rogersville. Rogersville is about 2 miles from here, and we're going to go see their graves. The grandparents of Davy Crockett are buried in Rogersville. But when they were massacred by Chief Dragging Canoe, who's another famous guy you can look up on Wikipedia or science documents, they were apparently massacred by under his orders. They weren't, I guess they didn't play ball with the Cherokee. Well, Captain Amy bought this property, settled it, and built a store here, and a mill, and a distillery, a blacksmith shop, a whole bunch of stuff. And he got along with Dragging Canoe, so they didn't have any problem. And at one point, this was the end of the Wilderness Road. So people who were moving, this is also where the city of Roswell gets their drinking water. But this is the water plant. But at one point, the Amy House, which we're going to go see here in just a second, was the end of the Wilderness Road. And so people who were westward bound into the wilderness, this was the last chance to get supplies and to basically be in civilization for a period of time in the late 1700s. And Captain Amy this was his store, this was his property. Okay, so I just kind of pulled up over here where we can get a little closer look at the Amy House. I don't want to go in too far and intrude. I don't think they're in town, actually. I think that they are visiting their son and their grandchildren. But this is the oldest house in Hawkins County. It was built around 1780. That was a stone house. It was a kind of a fortress. They couldn't get burned out by the Cherokee if they got mad at them. But you can see the stuff that's around it now was built up later, but the interior of the house, it's all original. So that's kind of neat. And we're going to come spend more time here in the future. This is just kind of a teaser. I apologize for Maggie panting so hard. She just gets so excited. But this is the Amy Mill Eatery right here. Jake Jacobs built this. The exterior is made from barnwood from a 19th century barn. How you doing? And he kind of built this restaurant here, right? You can't see it from this view, but this restaurant overlooks a dam that was, it's the old mill dam that's called Amy Mill, basically, because he built a dam in 1780. It's the oldest existing stone dam in Tennessee. It was built in 1780, and you can see the foundation of the mill. We're going to go down there in just a second, but I want to tell you the story about the restaurant, which has excellent food, by the way. He built it to kind of raise money and make this historic property, kind of self-sufficient, so he didn't have to pour his own money into it to preserve it. All right, we're down by Big Creek again. Maggie's having conniptions. She wants to get out and walk. That's why she pants so hard. This is what she wants to do. See, she's not panting now. She's just enjoying herself. What are you sniffing there? What is that? Oh my God, it looks like a dead rat. Maggie May. She was sniffing a dead rat. Okay. So I wanted to show you the the waterfall here, the dam. This is a view from below Amy Mill Eatery, and you can see they have the balconies kind of shut down. They don't have the tables out, but when it's nice out, you can sit on that balcony overlooking the dam. It's real pretty. So this is Captain Thomas Amy's mill, what's left of it. All this was built around 1780. And then here's the dam. And when we get Jake up here to take us on a tour, he can tell you a lot more about the dam. It was a famous architect came and built it, and unfortunately it was built with slave labor. But that's part of our history too. And there's the Amy Mill Eatery. We'll come up here to the overlook. All right. So this is the famous Amy Mill Dam. So we're going to do just a quickie pass through Rogersville. Rogersville is a full excursion anyways, so I don't need to spend a lot of time in Rogersville right now. But look at, here we go, we're entering town. This is one of the most beautiful little downtowns. Rogersville is the second oldest incorporated city in Tennessee, behind Jonesboro, which is the county seat of Washington County, same region. And I'm gonna just stop. There's a lot of traffic, unfortunately. I wanted to kind of just stop and find a place to park and just show you 3 of the really cool buildings downtown. That is the Hawkins County Courthouse. That's the oldest continually operated courthouse in Tennessee, built in 1836, and just a really neat place. And they actually still hold county commission meetings there. I was just at one a couple weeks ago. So we're at the corner of Main Street and Depot Street. This right here, though, this is the Hell Springs Inn, built in 1824. This building is the oldest continuously operated inn in Tennessee, and it's got 9 rooms, 9 suites, and a restaurant and a bar, and food is excellent. The caterer does a really good job. And interesting historical footnote about this place: during the Civil War, Rogersville was occupied by both the North and South at different times. When the North occupied it, its headquarters was the Hell Springs Inn, because according to legend, the inn faced north. Across the street is the Kyle House, which is currently called Coffee on the Kyle. It's a coffee shop where you can get food. It's a really nice place, and it's predates before the Civil War. Also, I'm not sure. I think it's 1840s. I'm not exactly sure of the date. We're going to do a walking tour. The Rogersville Heritage Association has a walking tour where all this historical. Sorry, I just burped up my lunch. Where all this historical information is listed, so we can walk and learn more about all the historical stuff. But I can tell you that when the South occupied Rogersville, their headquarters was the Kyle House because it faced south. Other interesting footnote about the Hell Springs Inn: 3 presidents have stayed there: Andrew Jackson, James Polk, and Andrew Johnson, who was actually from Greene County, which is the next county over. Andrew Jackson was all over this part of the country, especially in his younger years. He stayed in the Rogers Tavern, which we're going to visit here in just a second. Interesting footnote about the courthouse: during the Civil War, the Yankees went down and got all the records and put them in the road, and we're going to burn them. And somebody convinced them to not burn them, and a lot of those records still exist, and a lot of them are singed, where they almost burned and were salvaged. Some were burned, but there are records dating back to the 1700s with signatures of Thomas Jefferson and all those famous historical guys. So anyways, interesting downtown Rogersville. We're going to sign off here because we're short on time. and move on. Okay, another quick side note. We're about a block off of Main Street, close to downtown Rogersville. This is Rogers Tavern, and you can see there's a monument there. We'll spend more time here later. This is among probably the oldest surviving structures in Rogersville, and you can see they've got siding, but exposed there is the original log cabin, log exterior, and they're working on a plan right now to preserve it and return it to its original appearance. This building has lots of interesting stories. There's a car coming, so I gotta go, but I'll tell you this story as I'm driving. The tavern was opened by Joseph Rogers, who was the founder of Rogersville. Joseph Rogers was the son-in-law of Captain Thomas Amy. We were just at the Amy Mill place, the historic Amy property. And when he married Thomas Amy's daughter Mary, he was given all his property over here that he had, which was part of the property that he had purchased from the Crockett family. Now we're behind it. You can see over there. This is the Crockett Creek Park. The tavern and this park property, and we're not going to get out probably because we're kind of short on time. I just want to give you a quick little rundown if you're not from this area. Interesting side note, William Clark of the Lewis and Clark fame stayed there. That was a big story that I did, I think it was in 2019, where we discovered that from some diaries that he did. He did a tour, or he traveled from Louisville to Washington, D.C. in 1809, and instead of taking the river because of the War 1812, he had to detour and come through here, which came through Cumberland Gap and then back up through Virginia. Anyways, the funny thing that I noticed from that diary, he would stop in other communities nearby, like Middlesboro, Tazewell, Bean Station, and he always wrote good fare, good fare, good fare, which means good food. He came to Rogersville and he said, well, the roads were good. And then he got back down the road to Kingsport and Bristol and Abingdon. Good fare, good fare, good fare. So from what I gleaned from that was the food at the Rogers Tavern was not good. Now there's double evidence of this because there's a report or legend. And Maggie, you are so distracting when I'm trying to tell a story and you're sitting there panning. Look at her. She just sits there and she wants to go walk so bad. We have done nothing but cater to your needs, Maggie. Anyways, so one of the other historical figures who stayed at Rogers Tavern was Andrew Jackson. And according to legend, some person, and there may be a famous person, I'm not for sure, but somebody was staying at Rogers Tavern at the same time as Andrew Jackson, complained about the food, and Andrew Jackson was so offended by that he took him out to the corn crib and beat the tar out of him. This is the cemetery where Joseph A. Rogers, the Rogersville founder, and his wife Mary, the daughter of Thomas Amy, as well as the grandparents of Davy Crockett, are buried. And it's kind of fenced in here at the Crockett Creek Park, and then you can see across the park there, that's where the Rogers Tavern is, where Joseph A. Rogers had his little tavern. Okay, we're getting ready to head to Bulls Gap to the Yoder's Grocery to get I want some banana pudding. See what else good they have, but that hasn't been sold out because it's 4 o'clock and they close at 5, and usually you have to get there earlier. All the good stuff's sold out. But I wanted to show you this. Excuse me. This is the Powell Law Office, and we're not sure, but we think between this and the Rogers Tavern, two of the oldest structures still standing in Rogersville. This had siding on it until recently, and this is another one of the projects that they're working on to restore to its original appearance. The person who lived here, I think it's William Powell. I might be wrong about that. It seems like it's William Powell. But anyways, he was a congressman and a local attorney, and this was his law office, and they believe it was built in the 1795. They know it was around 1800s, give or take 5 years. We believe that during the Civil War, those records were destroyed. Same with Rogers Tavern. Not exactly known exactly when that was built. Late 1700s, you know, that for sure they think was built in the late 1700s. But this is the Powell office. Interesting side note, Main Street was on the other side because it followed the creek, and this is the original back of the house. So that's kind of an interesting side note. But you can see the original log siding, and hopefully they're going to be able to restore it and make it look like it did 200 years ago. All right, we skipped downtown Bulls Gap. Downtown Bulls Gap's a really neat place. It's historic, lots of stuff to look at. That's another day. That's almost a full day right there. It's 4:30 and the Yoder's closes at 5, so I wanted to hurry up and get in there and see if I can get some banana pudding and some loaded baked potato salad before they close. And I'm not even going to take my camera in there because it's usually pretty crowded. It don't look too bad right now, but I want to get in and out. Once again, in closing, this is Anything Can Happen Day, and anything did happen. We really deviated from the original game plan and saw a lot of stuff that I hadn't planned on seeing, and then didn't get to spend as much time on some stuff that I wanted to see. But I tell you what, we got all the time in the world, so we'll just do all that stuff at some point in the future. So if I don't see you again, I'll see you next time. All right, that didn't make no sense. If I don't see you again, I'll see you next time. If I don't see you again today, I'll see you next time. That's what I meant to say. Sometimes my brain is about 3 steps ahead of my mouth. All right, we'll see you next time. Adios.